It's prank week at college, and the pranks, called Yanks for some reason, are getting more elaborate and harsher as competing frats and sororities try to one-up each other in hopes of being called the king of the pranks. In completely unrelated events, one of the dumber students manages to discover a comic book, Ghoulish Tales, which, when read, summons creatures that look a little like the ghoulies we all know and love. Once these pseudo-ghoulies are unleashed on the school, it'll be hell to pay as the Yanks, go from harmless fun to deadly puns. And no, I'm not sorry about that. As humans, it is our lot in life to see our children grow up, get an education, and go to college, where they will utterly disappoint us. This is exactly what Ghoulies 3 does here. I hate this movie. The very first thing you see in this movie is the Ghoulies. I don't really think they're Ghoulies, but I'm just going to call them Ghoulies for the sake of making this review understandable. Anyway, these Ghoulies are huge, different models than the previous puppets. What's worse, someone has given them voices, and they have nothing worth saying.
You forgot to flush! Get up, Ratty!
They're screaming, cracking jokes that a 6-year-old would call bad taste, giggling, and when not talking about poop, they're farting.
Oh, Pooty! I think we should go. Now.
I miss when these bastards were mostly silent. I really do. The movie makers accomplished horrible things with steady technical skill, decent camera work, passable puppetry, some good monster makeup, and effects. This workmanlike production is likely entirely due to Ghoulies 3 being directed by a true horror veteran, the original designer of the Ghoulies and man behind the effects for both Ghoulies 1 and 2, John Buechler. Buechler, I'm sorry, I'm making a Ferris Bueller joke there. Anyway, Buechler has directed quite a few movies by this point, done effects for many horror movies, and was arguably a safe pick for Ghoulies 3. This is the fact that makes me so completely flabbergasted, and not only how awful this movie is, but at how opposed it is to what makes the other Ghoulies movies. I didn't know Buechler had directed this movie, and my first impression of the movie was that someone totally unfamiliar with Ghoulies and God and normalcy had somehow taken a studio hostage and decided to film a series of fart and piss jokes starring evil puppets before they would inevitably be stabbed to death by a caterer or PA. I know I called this movie competent, and if you've seen this, you probably think I'm insane. I am slightly, but I appreciate the technical skills shown here, the general ability to not be boring or painfully unentertaining. The movie sucks, but it's not the worst one I've seen, so that probably tells you about some of the bad movies and how bad they are that I've seen. But this movie doesn't earn my complete wrath. Rather, it earns my puzzlement. This movie isn't meant for me. I don't like it. Any normal person would hate it. So, that leaves us with the question, who is this movie for? People who wanted more of that creepy, puppet-molesting women vibe that Hobgoblins had, but felt that the acting needed to be just slightly better? People who can't enjoy college romance movies without constantly having them interrupted by puppets talking about buttholes? Is that the audience this movie seeks? I wonder. Ghoulies Goes to College, which is the actual title of the movie, but I refuse to say it because it's so long and the others were so simple, is violent, it's full of nudity, it's repulsive, it's got beer drinking, Satanist magic of a sort, but it's also got puppets fit for a kids movie being mischievous, accompanied by a horrible soundtrack that's a goofy, isn't this wacky, synthesized xylophone that it's as cheap sounding as it is overused. This movie isn't for adults, it's not fit for kids, it's begging to be killed because it has no purpose. And yet it exists. It's sad that this movie clearly had a lot of talent involved with it, and this is what they ended up doing with all of it. I have to give Ghoulies 3, or Ghoulies Go to College, one courtesy flush, done to get this movie down the toilet and hopefully away forever. I hope these Ghoulies go straight back to hell. And you know what? This is the scariest Ghoulies movie because it proves you can work very hard on something, see it achieve success, spend years, a decade, or more, and then, when you finally are given your turn to make that movie, that series do new things, you can ruin it completely. That's scary.
All of these things are designed to frighten a monkey.